I was on the 12th floor of a medical office building in downtown Phoenix when my wife called to tell me she had forgotten her passport. I remember the exact time because I had just signed the inspection sheet on a replacement fire alarm panel and looked at my phone before putting it back in my pocket. 10:18 a.m. Madison was supposed to be at Sky Harbor with Rachel and Tessa, two women she had known since college. The three of them had been planning 4 nights in Cancun for more than a month. Rachel had gotten out of a long relationship. Tessa had 2 children under 10 and had spent half the summer saying she needed a break from being needed. At least, that was the version I knew. I stepped into the hallway and answered. "Hey, Evan," I screwed up. She sounded breathless. "What happened? My passport." I closed my eyes. "You left it." "I think it is in the top drawer of the desk, the one in the den." "I told you to put it in your bag last night." I know. Please don't do that right now." I looked through the glass wall toward the tenant suite, where 2 electricians were waiting for me to finish. "How much time do you have?" "Boarding starts in about an hour and a half. The flight's at 12:45. You want me to drive back to Chandler, then all the way to Sky Harbor? Please." I checked the time again. If traffic cooperated, it was possible. Barely. "Fine. Text me exactly where you are." "Thank you, seriously." I started walking toward the elevator. Then I heard a man's voice close to her phone. Not an announcement, not somebody passing in a terminal. "Close, relax. Our honeymoon starts in an hour." There was a beat of silence. Then Madison said sharply, "Luke, shut up." I stopped walking. The elevator doors opened in front of me. I didn't get in. "Who is Luke?" Another pause. Too small to be proof. Too long to be nothing. "Rachel knows him," Madison said. "He is just being stupid. Rachel knows him." "Yes. Where is Rachel?" "Getting coffee. And Tessa?" "At the gate." The elevator doors closed again. I stood there looking at my reflection in the brushed metal. "Okay, Evan." "What?" "Don't make this weird." I almost laughed. Instead, I said, "I'll bring it." I hung up. I finished the inspection in 9 minutes. 23 years in the trade had taught me how to look at systems that were supposed to protect people when something went wrong. Fire alarms, suppression panels, smoke controls, exit hardware. Most failures were not dramatic. They were small things somebody assumed would work because they always had. I had never thought about marriage that way. By 10:40, I was on loop 200. Heading toward Chandler, Madison texted twice. "Found it." Then, "Please hurry." I didn't answer until I got home. The passport was exactly where she said it would be, in the top drawer of the desk, beneath an old envelope of tax documents and a stack of school photos. I picked it up and looked around the den. Nothing had changed. Her laptop charger was still plugged into the wall. A mug from Noah's middle school fundraiser sat beside the printer. Our family calendar was open to August. Soccer practice. Dentist appointment. My field schedule. Her trip. Nothing on the wall said my wife was leaving for a honeymoon with a man named Luke. I went upstairs without knowing why. The jewelry tray on her dresser held earrings, 2 bracelets, and the gold chain my mother had given her for our 10th anniversary. Her wedding ring was not there. That did not mean anything by itself. It meant she had either worn it to the airport or taken it somewhere else. I put the passport in my shirt pocket and left. At 11:03, Madison called again. "Where are you?" "Tempe." "How far?" 20 minutes. "Evan, boarding starts in less than an hour." "I know. Can you pull up at departures? I'll come outside." "I'll come in." "You don't need to come in." That sentence landed differently than it would have an hour earlier. "I am already driving across the city for your passport. I can walk at 50 yards, Evan." "What?" "Nothing. Just hurry." I drove the rest of the way with the radio off. The airport was busy in the way airports always are on Friday mornings. Rideshare cars cutting across lanes, families unloading too many bags, people staring at phones while dragging suitcases behind them. I parked in the short-term garage. Madison texted, "Door 22. Hurry." I found her near the international check-in area. She was wearing white linen pants and a pale blue blouse. Her hair was pulled back. A small carry-on stood beside her. A man stood with her. He was maybe a couple of years older than me. Broad-shouldered, tanned, wearing jeans and a dark green polo shirt. A gray hard-shell suitcase was at his feet. There were no women with them. Madison saw me first. Her face changed. Not relief, alarm. You didn't have to park, she said. I looked at the man, then at her left hand. No ring. Where are Rachel and Tessa? They're meeting us there. Madison looked toward the check-in counters. The man looked at me. He seemed uncomfortable, but not confused about who I was. That mattered. You must be Evan, he said. Madison turned toward him. Luke, he frowned. I thought he knew. Everything around us seemed to keep moving. Suitcases, announcements, people stepping around us because we were blocking part of the walkway. I looked at Madison. Knew what? She spoke quickly. Can we not do this here? Luke said. You told me he knew. Luke, please. I looked at him. Knew what? He rubbed the back of his neck. That you two were separated. I almost answered too fast. Then I made myself slow down. We're not separated. Madison exhaled. Evan, we've been disconnected for a long time. That is not the same thing. It is to me. I looked back at Luke. What exactly did she tell you? Madison stepped between us slightly. This is not the place. Luke looked at her. You said he was in the guest room. I turned to Madison. Her jaw tightened. I said, I slept beside my wife last night. Luke stared at her. The expression on his face changed in a way I recognized immediately. It was the expression of somebody trying to decide whether a lie had just been exposed or whether there was still some explanation coming. Madison lowered her voice. We don't have to perform this for strangers. I didn't bring strangers into it. Luke looked at me. I knew she was married. At least he did not insult me by pretending otherwise. He continued. She told me the marriage was over. She said you both knew it, that you were staying together in the house because of your son, until you worked out timing. He looked at her again. No, we never had that conversation. Evan, I raised a hand. Let him finish. Madison looked furious. Luke did not look much better. How long? I asked. He knew what I meant. His eyes moved to Madison. She shook her head once. He ignored it. 8 months. For a second, the airport went quiet in my head. 8 months. Not one drunk night. Not 3 weeks. 8 months. I looked at Madison. She folded her arms. I was going to tell you. When I knew what I wanted. Luke laughed once under his breath. She turned on him. Don't. I said, did you know what you wanted enough to book this trip? Madison's eyes flashed. This was supposed to be a girls' trip. Was. Rachel and Tessa were still planning to go. Are they here? They changed plans. When? She did not answer. Luke did. Rachel pulled out last week. Madison turned toward him, I said. And Tessa? 2 days ago. I looked at Madison. So you knew this was just you and him before you left the house this morning? Yes. And you told me you were going with Rachel and Tessa. I didn't know how to tell you. You knew how to ask me to bring your passport. Her face tightened. Luke looked away. An announcement sounded above us about a boarding zone for another flight. Madison held out her hand. Can I have my passport? I took it out of my shirt pocket. For one stupid second, every angry part of me wanted to keep it. Not forever. Just long enough to make her miss the flight. Long enough to force the day to stop. But it was her passport. Her choice. I put it in her hand. It is yours. She looked surprised. I said, I am not stopping you from going. Even. But if you get on that plane with him, don't come back and tell anybody I knew. Don't tell Noah. Don't tell your friends. Don't tell your friends. Don't tell your family this was some trip I accepted after our marriage ended peacefully. Her eyes went cold. You don't get to control what I tell people. And you don't get to rewrite what I knew. Luke shifted beside us. Then he asked Madison, does Noah know? She looked at him. Know what? About us. She took a breath. He knows things are changing. That is not what you told me. I looked at him. What did she tell you? Madison cut in. This is not about Noah. Luke said, you told me he knew you two were going to separate. Madison lowered her voice. I said he knew enough. No, Luke said. You said he was already getting used to it. I felt something inside me go very still. Noah was 12. He had complained that morning because I bought the wrong cereal. He had asked Madison whether she would bring him a soccer jersey from Mexico. He had no idea. His mother had apparently already assigned him a role in the end of our marriage. I asked her, "What exactly have you told our son?" "Nothing inappropriate." That wasn't the question. She looked towards security. "We are going to miss the flight." Luke did not move. Madison looked at him. "Come on." He stared at her. Did he know or not? Her voice sharpened. "Luke, we can talk about this in Cancún." Number, she blinked. "What?" "I am not getting on that plane." Madison stared at him. "Evan showed up angry, and now you are going to blow up 8 months over one scene." Luke glanced at me, then back at her. "This isn't one scene. You knew I was married." "I did." "Then what exactly are you shocked by?" "That he didn't know." Her face changed. For the first time since I had arrived, she looked less angry than frightened. She reached for his arm. "Luke, don't do this here." He stepped back. "I need time." "Time for what?" "To figure out what else you told me that isn't true." Madison turned toward me so fast, it almost looked like she had been waiting for someone else to blame. "You did this." I stared at her. "You called me for your passport." She actually flinched. Luke picked up his suitcase. "I'll change my ticket." "Luke." He did not answer. Madison looked at the departure board, then at him, then at me. The clock had taken over the argument. She still had a flight, still had a hotel, still had a suitcase, still had a choice. "Evan," she said. "What?" "I can't do this with you standing here." "Then don't." She stared at me another second. Then she pulled the handle up on her carry-on. For a moment, I thought she was going to follow Luke out. She didn't. She turned toward security. I watched my wife of 14 years walk away from both of us and get in line for a flight to Cancún, alone. Luke stood beside me for maybe 10 seconds. Then he said, "I know you don't owe me anything." "Correct. I need to ask you some things." "Not now." "Fine." I turned to leave. He said, "She told me you were leaving Phoenix next month." I stopped, looked back. "Number, she told you I was what?" We ended up at a coffee place near baggage claim because neither of us wanted to stand in the middle of the airport for the next conversation. I hated sitting across from him. He had slept with my wife for 8 months, knowing she was married. Whatever lies Madison had told him did not erase that. But if he knew something about my life that I didn't, I wanted to hear it. He put his phone face down on the table. "When do you start, Tucson?" "I don't." He frowned. "You haven't accepted it?" "Number," she said. "It was basically done." "My company asked me to take a 4-month project. I haven't answered." Luke leaned back. "She told me you wanted it." "I was considering it. She said you'd be there Monday through Thursday. That is what the project would require. And home weekends, probably." He looked toward the terminal windows. "She planned around it." "Planned what?" He rubbed one hand over his mouth. "We looked at an apartment in Tempe. That was the first moment after the airport confrontation when I felt truly unsteady. Not because an apartment was worse than 8 months of cheating. Because an apartment meant logistics. It meant future tense. When? Number, apply. Number, we just toured it." I let out a breath I did not realize I was holding. What did she tell the leasing agent? That she was looking for a place closer to some clients. Madison managed accounts for a residential design firm, so that explanation would have sounded ordinary enough. Did she use my name? Number not with them. That should have made me feel better. It didn't. Luke glanced toward the terminal. "The place had 2 bedrooms, she said. The second one could be an office at first." At first, he looked uncomfortable again. She said, "Maybe later Noah could stay there sometimes." My chair scraped the floor when I shifted. She planned a room for my son in an apartment I didn't know existed. We didn't furnish it. That is your defense. Number, he rubbed his forehead. I'm telling you what she told me because I don't know which parts were real anymore. Welcome to the club. He took that without answering. Then he said, "She had your Tucson dates." "What dates?" "Which Mondays you were supposed to drive down, which Thursdays you'd be back." She showed me a calendar. "I haven't even received a final project calendar." Luke frowned. "Then I don't know where she got it." My work schedule was not secret. Madison could see the family calendar, and she knew the rough project window. But hearing another man describe my possible work weeks as settled facts made my skin crawl. What did the apartment have to do with Tucson? Luke hesitated. She said once you started the project, she'd tell you she wanted a formal separation. She'd keep the house as Noah's main home at first. The apartment was supposed to make the transition easier. For who? He looked down at the table. For us. How exactly? We talked about it. That is not an answer. He rubbed his forehead. But I don't know which version of that conversation was real anymore, and I am not going to sit here pretending I do. I let that hang, then I asked, what did she say Noah was adjusting to? To you two separating. He doesn't know we're separating. Luke looked at me. You are sure? He is 12. He asked me last night if Mom was going to bring him a jersey from Mexico. Luke dropped his eyes. She told me he knew there were changes coming. He knows his mother is on vacation. That is it. That is it. He sat back and looked at the ceiling. I watched him process it. Then I asked, what else? He shook his head. I don't know. You've been with my wife 8 months, you know. I know what she told me. Then tell me that. He met my eyes. She said your marriage had been dead for years. Convenient. She said you were a good father and a decent man, but you'd both accepted it. We hadn't. She said you were taking Tucson because you wanted more responsibility at work. That part might have been true. She said once you were gone 4 days a week, the separation would feel less sudden to Noah. Every answer used something from my life as if I had already agreed to give it up. My work schedule, my time at home, my place in my son's routine. Luke said, I thought I was waiting for you two to finish something that was already over. You were sleeping with my wife while you waited. I know. Don't turn yourself into a passenger. I am not. Good. He looked down. After a while, he said, I was stupid because I believed the version that worked for me. That was the closest thing to honesty I had heard from him. I stood. He looked up. That is it, for now. What are you going to do? I don't know. That part was true. I walked out of the airport alone. By the time I got back to Chandler, Madison was somewhere over Mexico. Noah was at a friend's house until dinner. The house was empty. I sat in the den with Madison's passport drawer still open. For the first time all day, nobody was asking me to move. I called my boss. His name was Paul. He answered with, You get that alarm panel signed off? Yes. Then why do you sound like somebody died? My family situation changed. There was a pause. Bad. Yeah. You need the afternoon. I need to talk about Tucson. That got his attention. What about it? I am out. Another pause. You sure? Yes. We haven't even put the final package in front of you. I know. The per diem is good. The project premium is good. If the client expands phase 2, whoever leads this first stage is probably staying on. I understand. Then why now? I looked toward the hallway where Noah had left his backpack on the floor that morning. Because I am not spending 4 days a week nearly 2 hours away while my 12-year-old is about to find out his parents may be separating. Paul did not ask for details. One of the reasons I had stayed with the company 11 years was that the people above me knew when to stop. You want me to hold it until Monday, Evan. Give it to somebody else. He exhaled. All right, who gets it? Probably Maya Sanchez. She has been asking for a lead assignment. I knew Maya. Good inspector. Good with clients. She had spent the last 2 years taking every ugly overnight job nobody else wanted. She'll do fine. She will. That made the decision feel more permanent than anything else he had said. Paul continued. If phase 2 gets approved, whoever owns the first 4 months will be in a very good position. I am not trying to pressure you. I am making sure you understand. I understand. You could ask me to hold it until Monday. Evan. 4 months is not forever. I looked toward Noah's backpack. Neither is being 12. Paul went quiet. Then he said, Fair enough. Give it to Maya. I will. I know what I am giving up. I hope you do. So do I. When the call ended, I sat there another minute. There was no rush of satisfaction, no feeling that I had just beaten Madison at anything. I had spent years building toward assignments like Tucson, bigger client, more visibility, less time crawling through mechanical rooms, and more time controlling how the work got done. Under different circumstances, I might have said yes. That was the cost. I accepted it because the alternative was leaving Phoenix for most of every week at the exact moment. My son was about to learn his family was changing. Then my phone buzzed. Madison, we need to talk when I get back. I did not answer. Another message came 5 minutes later. Please don't make any rash decisions because of today. I stared at that one. Then Tucson might actually be good for both of us right now. Space could help. I put the phone down. She was somewhere over northern Mexico and still trying to move me south. Noah came home at 6. He dropped his shoes by the door, opened the refrigerator, and asked whether I wanted leftover pizza. He had no idea. I had considered waiting until Madison came home, but by then the house would be different, and he would notice. I wasn't going to give him details. I also wasn't going to make him discover the change by finding his father sleeping in the guest room. We sat at the kitchen island. I said, "Hey, I need to tell you something." He looked up immediately. "What?" "Your mom and I are having some serious problems." He went very still. Kids know more from tone than adults want to believe. Is this because she went to Mexico? The trip had not caused our problem. It had exposed it. This is between your mom and me. You didn't cause it. You don't have to fix it. And you don't have to choose sides. His face changed. Are you getting divorced? I don't know yet. Does mom know you are telling me? He looked down at the countertop. That answer clearly bothered him. I said, I'm not telling you details. I am telling you because things may feel different when she gets home, and I don't want you thinking it is your job to figure out why. He picked at the edge of a napkin. Is she coming home? Yes. When? Tuesday. He nodded. Then after a while, can I go to Caleb's? Yeah, he got up. At the doorway, he stopped. Are you staying here? Yes. That was the easiest answer I had given all day. For the next 4 days, Madison tried to manage the situation from Canton. The first night she was angry. You embarrassed me in public. Luke won't answer me because of what happened. You had no right to turn the airport into a scene. I read everything and answered nothing. Saturday morning, the tone changed. We were already in trouble before this, you know that. This didn't come out of nowhere. By Sunday, she had moved on to practical language. When I get home, we need to be calm for Noah. Please don't tell him anything dramatic. We need to handle this gradually. I read that message 3 times. Then I typed. I told him we're having serious problems. No details. Her reply came almost immediately. You had no right to do that without me. I stared at it. Then typed, you told Luke he already knew. The typing indicator appeared, disappeared, appeared again. No answer came for 11 minutes. When it did, it said, that is not what I meant. That evening she called. I let it ring twice before answering. Did you tell Noah we're getting divorced? What exactly did you say? That we're having serious problems and things may change. You should have waited for me. You were in Mexico. That doesn't mean I am not his mother. I didn't say it did. Her voice softened, which somehow made the conversation harder. I called him this afternoon. I know. Noah had talked to her for almost 20 minutes about school, a friend who had gotten cut from the soccer team, and whether she had found the jersey he wanted. I had heard him laugh from the hallway. Whatever else Madison had done, she still loved our son. That was one of the reasons I refused to turn him into a weapon, she said. He sounded normal. He is trying to be normal. Evan, please don't make him carry this. I don't plan to. Then why tell him before I got back? Because things are going to feel different when you get home, and he deserves not to think he caused it. She went silent. Different how? We can talk Tuesday. Evan, Tuesday, you are making decisions while I am gone. Yes. About what? About what I do next. She took a breath. We need space. Fine. Tucson would give us that without turning the house into a battlefield. There it was again. Tucson, still alive in her plan. I'll see you Tuesday. I ended the call before I told her anything else. Luke called Sunday afternoon. I almost rejected it, then I answered. What does Noah know about me? At all. He was quiet. She told me he knew enough. He knows his mother is in Canton. She said he knew you two were separating. We weren't separating, right? There was something exhausted in his voice now. I did not feel sorry for him, but I could hear the sound of somebody watching his own excuses collapse. Anything else? I asked. Then stop calling me. I probably will. Good. Monday morning, I met with a family law attorney recommended by a coworker. I gave her the broad outline. Married 14 years. One child, 12. House in Chandler. Two incomes. No immediate safety issue. No hidden accounts I knew about. No desire to empty anything, lock Madison out, or turn Noah into evidence. She nodded. That is already more useful than half the first appointments I have. I asked what I should do before Madison came home. Keep routine normal. Don't move money. Don't make promises about the house. Don't agree to custody schedules while you are angry. And don't start using your son as a messenger. I won't. If the marriage is ending, you can still decide how fast you make permanent decisions. That mattered to me. Because everybody else had already decided I was going somewhere. Tuesday evening, Madison's flight landed. She texted me from the airport. Are you picking me up? I looked at it. Then replied, Number Noah has practice. Get a cab. She sent nothing back. I moved my clothes into the guest room before she arrived. Not all of them. Enough. Shirts, work pants, shoes. Toiletries. I left the rest because I was not trying to stage a scene. I was trying to sleep somewhere else. Noah was in his room when the garage door opened. Madison came in pulling her suitcase behind her. She looked tired and sunburned and angrier than she had sounded in her texts. She set the suitcase by the stairs. Where is Noah? Upstairs. Did you tell him anything else? She nodded once. Then she went to the bedroom. I heard the closet door open, silence, then footsteps. She came back down the hall and stopped at the guest room doorway. My duffel bag was on the floor. My work shirts hung in the small closet. My phone charger was plugged into the wall beside the bed. She looked at me. What is this? I met her eyes. You said we needed space. Madison stayed in the doorway of the guest room. Her eyes moved from the shirts in the closet to the duffel bag on the floor. You said we needed space, I repeated. I didn't mean this. What did you mean? She looked toward the stairs. Keep your voice down. I am. That seemed to make her angrier. She stepped into the room and folded her arms. We should have talked before you started moving things. I looked around at 6 shirts, 3 pairs of work pants, my shoes, and a shaving kit. I moved 20 feet. You know what I mean? I don't think I do anymore. She closed her eyes for a second. I just spent 4 days by myself because you had to turn the airport into a confrontation. I am tired. I don't want to do this tonight. You spent 4 days by yourself because Luke chose not to get on that plane. Her eyes opened. I know he stayed in Phoenix. Then you know why. She stared at me. I let that sit there. I wanted to ask about the Tempe apartment. I wanted to ask how long she had been studying my work calendar like it belonged to both of them. I wanted to ask exactly what version of our marriage she had handed Luke so he could sleep at night. Instead, I asked one question. When did we decide we were separated? Madison looked away. We didn't use that exact word. When did we decide our marriage was over? Evan, come on. That is not a date. You know how it has been. I know how it has been. I don't remember agreeing that it was over. She lowered her voice again. Do you really need me to pretend we were happy? I need you to stop pretending unhappy and separated mean the same thing. She shook her head. This is exactly what I was afraid of. Everything has to become a courtroom with you. Exact words, exact dates. Who said what? You told another man I slept in the guest room. Her face tightened. We were barely a couple anymore. I was in our bed Thursday night, physically. I almost laughed. That is a useful distinction after the fact. She pushed hair back from her face. I was going to talk to you after the trip, before or after Tucson. That stopped her for half a second. Not long, but enough. Tucson would have given us some space, she said. You wanted the project anyway, 4 months. Monday through Thursday, we could have figured things out without Noah waking up every day inside a war zone. I am not going to Tucson. She looked at me. What? I turned it down Friday. For a moment she said nothing. Then, you what? I told Paul to give it to somebody else. Why would you do that? Because my marriage blew up and my son is 12. The answer came so quickly I almost missed what she meant. No what? You didn't turn it down because of Noah. You turned it down because of me. Both things can be true. You were excited about Tucson. I was considering Tucson. You told me it could put you in line for bigger projects. It could. So you threw that away because you were angry at an airport. I looked at her. 8 months is a long airport. She flinched. Then her anger came back harder. You are rearranging everything because you want me to feel what you felt. I changed my work plan. A plan we'd already built around. There it was, not my project. I said, I didn't change your plan. I changed mine. She went quiet. She went quiet. Upstairs, a door opened. Noah crossed the hallway, went into the bathroom, and closed the door. Madison waited until the pipe started running. Then she said, we are not doing this in front of him. Agreed. And you are not telling him about Luke. I haven't. Good, she sounded relieved enough that I knew she had been worried. I asked, what does Luke think happens now? Her expression changed. That is none of your business. He was at the airport with my wife going on what he called a honeymoon. It became my business. He was angry. He said things. Did he? What is that supposed to mean? I shrugged. Did you two have somewhere you were planning to live? She stared at me. I watched her decide how much I knew. Number, it was clean, immediate. A lie. No apartment. Her eyes narrowed. What did Luke tell you? I asked you. We looked at one place. That isn't the same as planning a life, and Noah. What about Noah? What did you tell Luke he knew? I never dragged Noah into this. That one took more effort. I could see it. I nodded. Okay, she frowned. Okay, we'll talk tomorrow. No, don't do that. Do what? Ask questions like you already know the answer, and then walk away. I looked at her. Interesting feeling, isn't it? It was petty. I knew it. I let it stand. I went into the guest room and closed the door. The next morning, Madison made eggs for Noah before school. She asked about practice. She complained that the dishwasher had been loaded wrong. She pulled the soccer jersey she had bought him in Cancún out of her suitcase and watched him smile when he saw it. For 20 minutes, we looked like a family that had survived nothing more serious than a delayed flight. That was the part people never explain when they talk about betrayal. The ordinary things do not disappear on schedule. At 7:40, Noah grabbed his backpack and said, "Love you, to both of us." Madison answered first. "Love you too." I said the same. Then the front door closed. The kitchen changed temperature. Madison put her coffee down. I talked to Claire last night. Claire was her older sister. Okay, she thinks we should slow down. Claire doesn't get a vote. I am not saying she does. Then why tell me? Because somebody needs to be reasonable. I looked at her. You told your sister? I needed someone to talk to. What did you tell her? The truth. I almost asked which one. I didn't. By lunch, I found out. A friend named Ben called me from his truck. Ben and his wife had known us almost 10 years. Our kids had played youth soccer together when they were younger. He did not sound angry. He sounded careful. That was worse. I'm not calling to get in the middle, he said. Then don't. Fair. But Madison talked to Lisa, and Lisa is worried about Noah. So am I. She said you two had basically been done for a while and you knew she was trying to move on. I leaned back in my work truck. I didn't know she had a boyfriend. Silence. Okay, Ben said. I didn't know we were separated. Another silence. She made it sound like, I know what she made it sound like. He exhaled. Whatever happened, don't make Noah live through a war. That landed harder than anything Madison had said. I won't. I am not accusing you. I know. I just know how ugly these things get. So do I, apparently. We ended the call without arguing. I sat there another minute before going back inside the warehouse I was inspecting. For a few minutes, I wanted to correct every person Madison had spoken to. I could have reduced the whole thing to dates. Thursday night in our bed, Friday, 10:18, the passport call. Before noon, 8 months. No separation conversation, no agreement, no peaceful transition. Instead, when people asked, I said one thing. We had never agreed to separate. That was enough. Anything more turned my marriage into a presentation, and Noah would have to live with whatever we chose to say about each other. Madison found out about Ben's call before dinner. She came into the kitchen while I was rinsing a plate. Did you talk to Ben? Yes. What did you tell him? That we never agreed to separate, and I didn't know about Luke. Her shoulders dropped slightly, but not from relief. I gave him 2 facts. You know how it sounds. How does it sound? Like I invented an entire marriage problem and ran off with some stranger. Luke isn't a stranger. You know what I mean. I turned off the water. Did you tell Claire Luke was supposed to be on that plane? Madison said nothing. Did you tell Lisa? Number. Did you tell them you told Luke I was sleeping in the guest room? Nobody needs every humiliating detail. I agree. That answer surprised her. I dried my hands. You don't owe your friends a transcript. I don't either. But if you were going to tell people I knew the marriage was over, or that I was already leaving, then you are not protecting privacy. You are giving them decisions I never made. She looked toward the hallway. I was trying to explain why this didn't come out of nowhere. Then tell them we were unhappy. We were more than unhappy. Tell them that too. Her jaw tightened. But don't tell them I agreed to an ending. You never told me it started. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she said, You want everyone to think I am a liar. Number, I want you to stop needing me to be one. She flinched. That evening Noah found me in the garage replacing the battery in a cordless drill. Dad? Yeah? Are you getting divorced? I put the drill down. He stood in the doorway with his arms folded tightly against his chest. We might be. Mom said you guys are just figuring stuff out. That is true too. Then why are you sleeping in the other room? There was no answer that could make 12 feel safe. Because right now that is better than pretending everything is normal. He stared at the floor. Did somebody do something? I could have given him one sentence. That would change how he looked at his mother. I didn't. Your mom and I have things we need to deal with. Adult things, you don't need to carry them. That is what Mom said. Then she was right. He looked surprised. Maybe he expected us to start recruiting him. I refused. Can I stay at Caleb's Friday? If his parents are okay with it. He nodded. Then he walked away. Madison was standing just inside the laundry room. I did not know how much she had heard. Thank you, she said. I picked the drill back up. For what? For not telling him. I am not protecting you from consequences. I didn't say you were. I am protecting him from being 12 years old and having to decide what to do with an 8-month affair. Her face changed. Keep your voice down. He is upstairs. Still. I put the drill on the bench. You keep saying you wanted to protect him. I did. I do. Then why did Luke think Noah already knew we were separating? Madison looked tired suddenly. Because I told Luke things were changing. That is not what I asked. I was trying to explain a complicated situation. You simplified it by inventing my agreement. I simplified it because Luke wasn't going to understand 14 years of marriage in one conversation. He understood enough to book Cancún. She looked away. Then she said, Luke and I are going to talk tomorrow. I felt something in my chest tighten. I hated that it still could. Okay. That is all you are going to say. What do you want me to say? I don't know. Neither do I. She left the garage. Whatever happened in their conversation the next day, it did not look like a reunion. Madison came home from work late and went straight upstairs without eating. She shut the bedroom door and stayed there for almost an hour. Saturday morning, she acted normal again. By Sunday, she was talking about practical things. School schedules, bills, whether we should tell Noah's counselor anything. By Monday, she was back to using a word I had started to hate. Gradual. We can do this gradually, she said at the kitchen table after Noah went to school. We don't have to make permanent choices this month. I am not making permanent choices this month. You are talking to a lawyer. So are you? That surprised her. How do you know that? Because you left the attorney's card next to the coffee machine? She glanced toward the counter. Fine. Yes, I talked to someone. Good. You don't mean that. I do. We both need advice. She studied me. You are very calm for somebody who blew up his own work opportunity. You really liked Tucson. I liked what it could have done for you. And for you, her mouth tightened. Before she could answer, my phone buzzed. Luke. I let it go to voicemail. Madison saw the name. Why is he calling you? I don't know. Don't answer him. That made me look up. You don't get to decide that. She pushed her chair back. He is confused. You are angry. Every conversation between the two of you makes this worse. For who? She stood. She left for work. I listened to the voicemail 10 minutes later. Luke's voice was flat. I need to ask her one thing with you there. I am done getting different versions of the same situation. If you are willing, text me. If not, forget it. I almost deleted it. Then I thought about Madison telling me she had never dragged Noah into anything. I texted Luke. What thing? His answer came a minute later. Noah. I stared at the screen. Then I wrote, Wednesday 7. Noah won't be here after that. I called Caleb's father. Noah was already supposed to go over Wednesday after soccer and stay for dinner. I asked if he could stay until 9. Sure, Caleb's father said. Everything okay? Family stuff. He did not ask more. Wednesday at 7, the doorbell rang. Madison was in the kitchen. She looked toward the front hall. Who is that? I opened the door. Luke stood on the porch. No suitcase this time. No vacation clothes. Just jeans, a gray button-down shirt, and the expression of a man who had not slept much. Madison came around the corner. Her face went white. Why is he here? Luke looked at her. Because I want one answer from you with him in the room. She looked at me. You invited him into our house. He asked to come. I agreed because the question was about Noah. Luke said, This was my idea. You should leave after you answer. Madison folded her arms. I am not doing this. Luke did not move. Did Noah know we were going to be together? The room went quiet. Madison looked at him as if she could not believe that was the question he had chosen. He knew Evan and I were having problems. Luke shook his head. That is not what I asked. He is 12. He knew things weren't perfect. Did he know you and Evan were going to separate? Not in those words. Luke laughed once. There was nothing amused in it. You told me he'd already started adjusting. I said he was old enough to understand that things change. Number Madison's face hardened. Don't tell me what I said. You told me he knew enough that I wouldn't come out of nowhere. I watched her. She finally looked at me. I never told Noah about Luke. I know, I said. Then why are you standing there like I did? Because you told Luke our son had already accepted a separation I didn't know we were having. I did not say accepted. Luke stepped in. You said he was getting used to his dad being gone more. Madison stared at him. Because Evan was going to Tucson. I wasn't going anywhere, I said. You were considering it. Considering isn't leaving. You wanted that project, and you needed it. She turned on me. Needed it for what? Luke answered before I did, for Tempe. Madison closed her eyes. We looked at an apartment, that is all. Then why did Luke know which weeks I was supposed to be in Tucson? Her eyes opened. That was the moment she understood how much he and I had compared. Not everything. Enough. She looked at Luke. What did you tell him? Luke's expression changed. See, that is the problem. What did you tell him? The truth as I understood it. Which truth? She snapped. He stared at her, exactly. Nobody spoke for a few seconds. Then Luke said, You told me the first month would be simple, because Evan would be gone most of the week. Madison shook her head. I said easier. Not simple. Fine. Easier. You said you'd keep school nights normal for Noah. You'd meet me after work on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. You'd be home before 10. Once you told Evan you wanted a formal separation, you'd start staying at the apartment overnight sometimes. I felt my jaw tighten. This was more detailed than what he had told me at the airport. Luke kept going. You said Thursdays mattered because Evan would be driving back from Tucson, so you'd always be home before he got there. You said weekends would stay mostly family time at first, so Noah wouldn't feel like everything changed at once. Madison looked at me. It wasn't a schedule. I said nothing. Luke did. You put it in your phone. Tentative dates. You labeled them client dinners. That one hit differently because it was so ordinary, a calendar entry, a cover story. My possible work assignment turned into a set of nights when my wife could leave the house and come back before I returned from Tucson. Madison said, Nothing had happened yet. Luke stared at her. 8 months had happened. She flinched. He continued. The apartment wasn't signed. Fine. The schedule wasn't final. Fine. But every version you gave me started with Evan doing something he had never agreed to do. Madison's eyes filled, but she was still angry. I was trying to make the transition less brutal. For Noah, I asked. Yes, and for Luke. She looked away, for everybody. Luke shook his head. Number for you. I looked at him. He noticed. I am not pretending I am clean here, he said. I chose to believe a version that made that easier. That is on me. Madison stared at him. So what, now you are both judging me? I am not here to judge you, Luke said. I am here because I needed to know if I was building something with a woman who had actually ended her marriage, or with a woman who had decided what her husband was going to do next. I was going to end it. When? She did not answer. Luke waited. When, Madison? Her voice got quieter. After Tucson started. That was the answer she had avoided giving me for a week. Luke nodded slowly. Right. What is that supposed to mean? It means if he went, you were ready. If he didn't, you needed more time. That is not fair. Maybe not. He looked at me once, then back at her. But I am done. Madison went still. Don't say that because you are angry. I am not angry anymore. Luke, at the airport I needed time because I didn't know what was true. Now I know enough. She took a step toward him. 8 months doesn't disappear because Evan changed one work assignment. Number it disappears because I finally understand what those 8 months were built on. You loved me. His face tightened. I did. The past tense landed harder than shouting would have. Madison's eyes moved to me, then back to him. So that is it. Luke nodded. That is it. He walked to the door. Before he opened it, I said, Luke. He looked back. You still knew she was married. He held my eyes. I know. Then he left. Madison stood in the living room with both hands hanging at her sides. For maybe 30 seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she turned on me. Are you happy? Number, you got what you wanted. I didn't know what I wanted from him. You wanted him gone. I wanted the truth to stop changing depending on who was in the room. She wiped under one eye with the heel of her hand. You didn't have to let him come here. He wanted to ask about Noah, and you couldn't wait to watch him leave me. That made me angry. Not loud. Just clear. Don't make me responsible for the part where your boyfriend found out you lied to him. She stared at me. He wasn't just my boyfriend. I almost said something cruel. I stopped. Noah will be home in an hour, I said. We need to be done before then. She laughed once through tears. There you are. Schedule. Routine. Keep everything controlled. He is 12. I know how old my son is. Then act like it. The words came out harder than I intended. She walked upstairs and closed the bedroom door. Noah came home at 9:10. He complained that Caleb's father put mushrooms on the pizza. I listened, like it was the most important problem in the world. For him, that night, maybe it was. The next 2 weeks were quieter, not better. Quieter. Madison stopped talking about Luke. Luke stopped calling me. We still ate dinner with Noah 3 or 4 nights a week. He knew things had changed. We did it because he still had homework, practice, and a science project that somehow required 3 trips to a hardware store. One night he asked if we could all watch a Suns game in the living room. Madison looked at me before answering. I said, sure. We watched most of it without talking about ourselves. When Noah went upstairs, Madison said quietly, see, we can keep some things normal. Some things, I said. She nodded. For once, neither of us tried to turn that into a larger agreement that mattered. It was the difference between protecting a routine Noah actually had and inventing a future everyone was supposed to grow into. I met with my attorney again. Madison met with hers. We agreed on one thing quickly. Noah's school and day-to-day routine would not become leverage. The rest took longer. Madison wanted us to stay in the same house until the end of the semester. Part of her reason was real. Noah was already watching us too closely. He needed time. Part of it was familiar. If we wait, she said one night, we can make this gradual. There was that word again. We were sitting at opposite ends of the dining table. I am not moving tomorrow, I said. I am not asking you to, but I am also not agreeing that you get to choose the date, because it makes the story cleaner. This isn't about a story. It has been from the beginning. She looked exhausted. I was trying to make it hurt less. For who? For Noah, for you, for me, for everybody. You were trying to make it gradual. Yes, for everyone except the one person you never told. She looked down at the table. Neither of us said anything for a while. Then she surprised me. I was scared you'd end it immediately. I leaned back. So you didn't tell me because you thought I might make a choice you didn't want. She nodded once, small barely there. But it was the first answer that felt complete. I thought if Tucson started, we'd already have some distance. Noah would get used to you being gone during the week. I could talk to you when everything wasn't happening all at once. And Luke would already have an apartment waiting. Maybe. And everybody else would already know we were basically over. She closed her eyes. I didn't tell everybody. Enough people. I didn't want to humiliate you. You told another man I had already left a marriage I was still sleeping in. She started crying quietly. I did not feel victorious. I felt tired. Madison, you had the right to tell me you wanted out. She nodded. You had the right to leave. You had the right to choose Luke. You had the right to file. She wiped her face. But you didn't have the right to build the next 6 months out of choices you needed me to make, then tell everybody I'd already made them. She looked at me. I know. I did not ask whether she meant it forever. I only needed her to mean it that night. We stayed under the same roof for another 5 weeks. Separate rooms, separate conversations with lawyers, shared breakfast with Noah when we could manage them without pretending. We told him together that we were going to live in 2 homes. He cried. Then he got angry. Then he asked whether he had to change schools. When we said no, he asked whether he could still play on the same soccer team. When we said yes, he went upstairs and shut his door. There was no graceful version of that conversation. There was only a version where neither of us asked him to decide who had caused it. I rented a 2-bedroom apartment about 10 minutes away. Nothing impressive. Clean kitchen, small balcony, 2nd bedroom big enough for a twin-bed desk, and the collection of soccer gear Noah seemed determined to spread across every home he entered. The first weekend he stayed with me, he brought 3 duffel bags for 2 nights. You know you were going back Sunday, I said. I know. Then why do you have 6 shirts? Options. He said it with Madison's exact tone. I laughed before I could stop myself. So did he. It was the first time the apartment felt like somewhere people could live, instead of somewhere a marriage had sent me. The divorce itself was ordinary, in all the ways the previous months had not been. Lawyers, financial disclosures, retirement accounts. The house became something to resolve rather than a symbol to win. We agreed to sell it after Noah's school term and handle the equity through the settlement. Madison kept her job. I kept mine. Neither of us got everything we wanted. About 6 weeks after I moved, Paul stopped me after a staff meeting. 2 more sites, longer timeline. I knew what he was telling me. The assignment I had turned down had become bigger than the one originally offered. You okay with that? He asked. I thought about it. Number, he gave me a small nod. I am still glad I stayed. Both can be true. Yeah, that was the cost of choosing my own timing. It did not stop being a cost, just because I believed the choice was right. After the house sold, Madison rented a 2-bedroom condo, close enough that Noah's school and soccer routine barely changed. The Tempe apartment Luke had toured with her never became anything more than a floor plan they had once walked through. Luke never came back, at least not in any way that involved me. Claire eventually called to apologize for assuming Madison, and I had already agreed to separate. Ben never asked for details again. A few friends drifted away. Some stayed. Most people got bored once the story stopped being new. That was probably healthy. Months later, after the divorce was final, Noah called me on a Friday afternoon. Dad? Yeah? Did I leave my charger at your place? I was standing in the kitchen with a grocery bag on the counter. Which charger? The black one. That describes every charger you've ever owned. The long black one. Much better. I checked his room. It was under the desk beside one cleat and a math workbook he had sworn was at his mother's house. Found it. Can you bring it tomorrow? You are coming here tomorrow. A pause. Oh, right. I smiled. I'll put it by your backpack. Thanks. Yep, he hung up. I set the charger on the table beside the backpack he kept at my place. My work schedule was clipped to the refrigerator. No Tucson blocks, just inspections, soccer, a dentist appointment, and Saturday mostly empty. I still didn't know exactly what came next. The difference was, nobody had already written it for me. If you enjoy stories where betrayal finally meets consequences, subscribe for the next one. This is Blood Never Lies.